Never let the UFC cook again, bro. What is this? Send the UFC matchmakers Dagestan 2-3 years forget, brother. So if you haven't heard the news yet, Justin Gaethje is fighting Paddy Pimblett for an interim title in January, and the winner will go on to fight Ilia Topuria. So I guess Arman Saryukin's win over Dan Hooker was for nothing, cause we're passing him up anyways. I just don't get how Gaethje got into this position. Like, the guy's just been whining on Twitter, and somehow he just cried himself into this position. And don't get me wrong, this is a really good fight, but Arman is clearly the #1 contender. He is the most deserving out of everyone at lightweight, and I think him fighting Ilia would just be way more exciting than, for example, Justin Gaethje fighting Ilia or Paddy Pimblett. Because in my opinion, Arman Saryukin is the most competitive fight for Ilia, but I guess we're just gonna act like he doesn't exist and make Paddy versus Ilia after Paddy submits Justin Gaethje. And that's really the only possible explanation to why they're making this fight, because they can't just justify Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria after Paddy Pimblett is coming off a win against Michael Chandler. So they have to make him fight a top contender who's an easy stylistical matchup. And to be fair, it's not that easy for Paddy Pimblett, because his boxing defense is garbage and Justin Gaethje hits really hard. But on the ground, he has such a huge advantage over Justin Gaethje. I don't think Justin Gaethje's ever trained grappling in his entire life. Like, the guy has pretty good takedown defense, but whenever it gets to the ground, he's always in some kind of trouble. And whether people like to admit it or not, Paddy Pimblett is a very good grappler. He has very good Brazilian jiu-jitsu and he's really good at finding submissions and finishes on the ground. So I do think Paddy Pimblett would submit Justin Gaethje. And listen guys, here's the thing, you guys. Ilia versus Paddy is a very sellable fight because Paddy Pimblett is a very big name. Okay, maybe very big is an exaggeration, but a lot of casuals know who Paddy Pimblett is. I cannot say the same for Arman Saryukin. And Paddy Pimblett is also an easier fight for Ilia Topuria. And I think the UFC's plan with this is that they can prioritize a quote-unquote super fight between Paddy and Ilia, which Ilia is most likely gonna win. You know, get him an easy title defense. And after that, they'll either make Ilia Topuria versus Arman Saryukin, or they'll just skip Arman Saryukin and justify Ilia Topuria moving up to 170 with his one title defense to fight Islam Makhachev. But listen guys, this is just what I think. As I've said before, I want Arman to fight for the title next because I believe Arman Saryukin on your resume is an amazing win to have, and I want Ilia Topuria to retire as the GOAT. But the UFC prioritizing the bigger name over the most deserving contender is nothing new. It's honestly been happening a lot lately. And speaking of that, a guy who has had some Dana White privilege, Sean O'Malley, is going to be fighting Song Yadong, which is an amazing fight, sick fight. I'm definitely not going to miss that one. I think Gene Silva versus Arnold Allen was announced as well, which is also a crazy fight. But there's also another announcement that has disappointed me a lot, and that is of course Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Listen guys, I'm starting to wonder if Dana White really is friends with Donald Trump, because the Mexican privilege is crazy. Nah, I'm joking, but we all understand why this fight is happening. It is because the UFC has been trying to reach that Mexican market, the Mexican fans. They've been building the PI in Mexico, they had UFC notches, stuff like that, you know? I remember they also gave Yair Rodriguez some bullshit belt once. Like, listen guys, we talk about Dagestani privilege all the time in the UFC. The Mexican privilege is even crazier in my opinion. The UFC is just trying so hard to get a Mexican champion, to the point where they're gonna prioritize that over Volkanovski's legacy, because Volkanovski just beat this guy. I want to see Volk get a new fresh name on his resume like Movsar Evloev, who fair enough is super inactive, but I feel like a win like that still does more for his legacy than another win over Diego Lopez. And by that I don't necessarily mean that Movsar Evloev is a better name than Diego Lopez, but Volkanovski already has Diego Lopez on his resume. Let's get some variety. Plus Diego Lopez has the chance of finishing Volkanovski because Volkanovski is old and out of his prime. Like, you know for a fact, prime Volkanovski is never getting caught by Diego Lopez. But now that he's a bit older and his chin has been cracked sometimes, the chance of that happening is much higher. While Movsar Evloev, although he has sneaky power, doesn't really have the same finishing ability on the feet as Diego Lopez has. So as a Volkanovski fan, it's a much more safer fight in my opinion, with more reward as well because it is a new name to the resume. But yeah, weird stuff from the UFC, never let them cook again. Hire me, I'll be the new matchmaker. But I think that's enough yap for today guys. Check out my last video. It was about why Arman Saryukin deserves a title shot, and my whole reaction to Hamza Chimaev pushing Ian Gary backstage. But anyways, thanks for watching, leave a like, subscribe for some of the best yap on MMA YouTube. Am I just an Arman Saryukin glacier? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and also don't forget to share this video to every Paddy Pimblett fan you know, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye!